Thank you for checking out Unlucky, a memoir. My name is Kat. Everyone has a story. This one just happens to be mine. I want to start off by apologizing for the sound quality of the video last week. It's been hectic these past 2 weeks, and I ran short of time when I was filming last week, and by the time I started editing the videos, when I noticed the sound quality, and I didn't have time to record another video to keep on schedule to have things up on Saturdays. So I just threw that one up, not to leave you hanging, and that's how I added on the extra footage at the end. Again, I apologize for that sound quality. I guess this week I was going to talk about where using heroin took me and how it changed who I really was. Most people don't think about one aspect when using drugs and the risks that we put ourselves in and to what extent those risks are. Putting our lives in other people's hands. Just the simple fact of going to cop drugs off of somebody you really don't know. But yet, we trust them when they tell us it's good dope. Not too strong, not too weak, not rat poison or some other poison. And we put our lives in their hands every time. There's people I've known most of my life that I don't trust. When I'm getting high, that all goes out the window because all I'm worried about is making sure to get my nicks fixed so I don't get sick. Using heroin escalated rather quickly when I was young. Got to the point where we realized we were that close to Philadelphia or New York City that the price of drugs in those places was half of what we were paying globally. So we decided it'd be a smart move to start going to North Philly or to Alphabet City in New York to cop our drugs. Needless to say, we ended up in North Philly, and at that point, and still to this day, they call that part of North Philly the Badlands or the OK Corral. And the OK Corral because there are shootouts every day down there. Another way of putting your life in jeopardy. And I've had guns pulling on me, put in my face, been threatened, been assaulted numerous times. But I'd keep going back because I knew I needed the drugs. There was one time we used to steal diabetic test strips because you could sell them for $30 a box out in the bodegas in Philly. So I'd walk into a drugstore and take a basket, sweep 50 of them off the shelf and run out the front door. If you do the math, it's about $1,500 in a single shot. At that point in time, I was supporting my habit along with a few friends because they were letting me stay in their apartment, and they would drive me around to do this. I did this for approximately 6 months or so, and I'll let you do the math on that. Even at $1,000 a day, it's $30,000 a month, so $45,000 a month on average for about 6 months. It's a lot of money, and a lot of things I could have had. At that point in time in my life, I was shooting about $1,000 worth of drugs at the moment a day. I would get a brick of dope and a couple $100 worth of cocaine. And that was a daily habit. I'd shoot 13 bags of heroin at a time. So to support that habit, I made sure I stole enough things every day. And I remember sitting around a squat years later that I lived in, and we had a DVD player and we were watching Red Hot Chili Peppers DVD, and I remember the one young kid in the room said, "Do you know John Frusciante used to do $1,000 worth of heroin a day?" And I just remember smirking, looking at him and say, "Do you know I used to do $1,000 worth of heroin a day, and I'm not a rock star." I could only imagine if I had that much money, I definitely wouldn't be here today. And the one thing I always address when I talk about statistically I should no longer exist. I shouldn't be here. 30 years of opiate addiction, IV opiate addiction. Most of the people I started using with are either dead, in prison, or they got clean long ago. The fact that I'm still here is truly a blessing, and I totally understand that I am only here by the grace of God. There was a plan in place, and I don't do these videos to glorify anything I've done. It's to educate people like what it was like out there and what I went through to get to where I'm at now. And like I mentioned in the beginning of the video, it's been a hectic couple of weeks. I started working with a great organization here in Colorado as an intern to be a peer support professional to help other people. I feel I owe a debt somewhere, the fact that I shouldn't be here. And I was saved and here for a reason. So that's what I do. I also became manager of a sober living house. The most amazing thing, because a year and a half, 2 years ago, this would have never, my brain couldn't wrap itself around it. I was asked to be a small group leader at my church for their kids' camp for some fifth graders. And immediately my brain doubted myself and didn't think I was worthy or had anything to offer. Well, this past week, for the past 4 days, I've been volunteering at my church for kids' camp and had an amazing time. And I tried to explain to somebody that it was just as much for me as it was for them. What it did for me was amazing, and I hope they had a wonderful experience. These things that are happening in my life are so unreal. And that's why I say it's only by the grace of God. I did nothing. I tried destroying my life over and over again. And apparently it wasn't my time. It's funny because the message during kids camp was love one another and how can we serve one another. And whether you're in 12-step recovery, whatever recovery it is, or in faith in some way, we are called to be of service. And by being of service and volunteering at church, helping other people with addiction, even making these videos, has done so much more for me than I think I've done for anyone else. And I have to remember that because I had a therapy appointment earlier this week with my therapist, and one of the main points of discussion, because other than she feels weird because my life is going so well that she doesn't know what else to do for me, but we did discuss one thing, and that's self-care and how important it is for me to make sure to maintain my self-care. Because I'm sure I can get lost in service, lost in work, lost in all these things in my recovery. But that's a wonderful thing about some of the ways which I do serve, because it recharges my batteries, it gets me ready for the next week. So I guess my message is, this week anyway, redemption is possible, recovery is possible. Love one another and be of service. And the way I look at it, is that people were of service to me. People helped me throughout this past year and a half. People that I am truly, truly grateful for, that went out of their way to help me achieve goals that I never thought were even possible. I completed a ton of certifications this past year. I got hired into a field that I've wanted to be in since I was in my 20s, in one way or another. And this week with Kids Camp, we helped with a food drive to gather food for a really great organization called Socks Place that helps feed the unhoused and the unhoused youth in downtown Denver. And that's very personal to me because I was unhoused. I stepped off the bus into Colorado about a year and a half ago, completely beaten and broken and unhoused. With no real plan of what to do other than I didn't want to die. So being able to be a part of that food drive to hopefully help people see a little hope, to have a smile throughout their day, meant the world to me. I know this video's been a little off the normal path of what I've been doing here, but this is just what's been on my heart this week. So I wanted to share that and share a little of the hope, the fact that I made it out the other side of all these stories I'm going to be telling you, that redemption and recovery are possible. With that, I'd like to really thank you all for following along this journey with me and listening to my stories. Because again, these videos are probably doing more for me than they are for anyone else. Just to unload the burden of my past life lets me lighten that load and share it with others. I don't have to carry it all on myself anymore. So, thank you for watching my videos. Thank you for tuning in week after week. Thank you for liking, commenting, sharing, subscribing, all those things, because that just helps the channel grow and get to more people. And that's all I really want to do anymore, is just help people. I feel that I have an obligation. With that, I'll catch y'all next week.